Hey there, my name is Foxe, and this is going to be a tutorial over Avatar 3.0 with Blublman's September 2019 Floof model. So one thing I want to stress before we go any further with this tutorial is this video will assume you already have basic knowledge with Unity. I will not be covering how to navigate Unity whatsoever or how to upload a VRChat avatar. I assume you already know how to do these. This is only covering Avatar 3.0 and how the animators work. With that being said, we can get started by finding our way to where the model is located. You'll see the prefab right here. We already have it in our scene, and this is what we want. We want the model in our scene. To continue on, we're going to go into our Avatar 3.0 folder, and in here you'll see some animators, which are these 5 objects I've selected. The only one we're going to be focusing on today is FX September 19. What you want to do is you want to double click on this, and you will see a big list on the side that will show up. Your list will probably default to base layer. What we're going to be playing with today, we're not going to really need to play around with too much adding stuff. We're just going to be editing what's already here. So with that being said, we're going to want to find the the cloth top. So what we're going to be doing here is this is going to be setting clothing as default. In our idle animation, this right here is this is what is loaded whenever we load into a world in VRC. So currently there's no animation inside this block. However, each block in here is an option on your radial menu for the model itself. So for instance, this jacket closed 1 will activate the first preset of clothing that is available for your model, and then jacket close 2 will do the second preset, and then jacket open 3 would be the third, so on and so forth. What we're going to do is we're going to click on jacket open 2, and it will bring us into the animations 1 folder and cloth toggle. Once we have it selected, it will be highlighted in yellow. We want to click on this, and we're going to hold on to it for now. Remember its position, because we're going to click on idle once again, and we're going to take that same animation and we're going to drag it into the idle motion thing. You'll see now that motion has jacket open 2 in it, and so now when you load into the world, VRC will think that the idle animation will be your jacket being already open. We can also play around with, say, the panties, which is this right here. We can have, say, if we want the bikini bottom to be default, we'll take this bikini bottom on animation and we'll place that in the idle. Currently, panties on is already idle, and so we don't need to mess around with this. But if you wish to have the bikini bottom on by default, you would place the bikini bottom on animation in the idle rather than this panties on animation. What we're also going to be paying attention to, we're going to go back into cloth top, is you'll see all these arrows going to each state, which is what these boxes are called. So right now, our idle is a jacket open 2. And we'll see that on jacket open 2, there are arrows going to and from it. We're going to want to click on the one going from idle to jacket, and you'll notice in here that there is a condition. For now, what I want you to do is whichever one you are focusing on is you want to find the one from idle to the state you want, and look in the conditions and find this value, this integer value, and you want to keep note of it. Mine happens to be 6. So parameters which is right next to layers, is where we want to be. So we'll go up to the top where layers is located, and you want to click right beside it and find parameters. And once you're in here, you'll see that all those layers has changed to different values that are all set to 0. Now in here, what all we're going to want to do is keep note of that value that we had right here in cloth. You notice how it's 6. So what we're going to want to do, we're going to go find cloth top, because we're in the cloth top layer, and we're going to change this value from 0 to 6. And now, when you load into the world, you will have jacket open to already changed into, and you don't have to go through your radial menu to find it. This can be done with all your other clothing, and you can also do this with your hair presets. And I'll showcase that right now, actually. Since your hair presets are slightly different than your clothing toggles, because your hair is using a radial slider rather than your clothing toggles using just buttons to toggle the clothing on and off, there's a little bit of a different story with changing your hair. So we've got to find where our hair is located. The hair layer is right third from the bottom, and you'll see this is a bit different than what the other ones. You'll notice there isn't an idle in this one. That is okay, because what happens with this one is it will automatically, entry will automatically go into hair long. It will automatically has hair long preset set by default with a value of 0 as set by the radial slider. This might sound a little like gibberish, but I'm going to try and explain it to the best I can. So let's say, for instance, you want the longer hair variant for your hair to be active when you load into the world. We're going to do hair edit long variant 2, because this is by far what I think is the best looking one. So to make this very, very, very simple, all we're going to do is we're going to right click on this state, and we're going to make this as layer default state. And you'll notice it went from hair long to now the hair edit long variant 2 is now the default. And so now when you load into the model, it will default to the hair long edit variant 2, and it will still have the value of 0 though. And so what we're going to want to do with this is we're going to go back to our parameters, and in here we want to go to hair radial, and you'll see how it's 0.0. Just want to change this to 1. Now whenever you load into the world, your hair will be the long variant, and it will be set to 100%. This is a float point value, so this value can be anything from 0 to 1, including decimal values. So say you want the long hair, but you only want it to be like 75% active. You can just change this to 0.75. What the other thing we have to do, very similar to the previous, is we have to find the transition, which is the arrow going from any state in this case, not idle. We want to find the arrow, and you'll see how in conditions it says it's 2. In here, we want to keep note of the 2 value, and we want to go to hair edit in the parameters, and we want to change this to that same value. So in my case, it's 2, but if you want, like, say, a shorter variant of the hair, you'd want to find whatever one it was in these transitions and take that value and put it in edit. This is mostly covered everything for Avatar 3.0. You can take everything I've hopefully taught you and translate it over to the other layers. I'll do another one just as example. Let's say we want the bikini bottom on by default whenever we load into a world. What we'll do, we'll go to clothed bottom. You'll see how the idle is currently, it has panties on by default. what we're going to want to do is we're going to go to bikini bottom on, click on this one, find the bikini bottom on animation. It's right here. We're going to go to idle. We're going to take that animation and drag it in here. Then we're going to find the transition from idle to bikini bottom on, this arrow going from idle to it. And we're going to want to take note of this 2 because this is the integer value. And we're going to go back to parameters. We're going to go to clothes bottom and we're going to click on this 0 and we're going to make it 2. Now, when we load into a world, it will have the bikini bottom on by default. Hopefully that explains Avatar 3.0's parameter system with the animators. That is just that is quite a small section of what Avatar 3.0 as a whole can do, but that's what mostly people have been asking us about in the server. I hope this covered it very well. Next, we're going to go to changing body proportions. This is going to be playing around with the animations itself, so keep that in mind. All right, so the second question we've had a lot is how do we change the proportions for the mature body slider? This is very, very easy, actually, and it shouldn't be too hard to grasp once you get the hang of it. This is just playing around with a single animation, so it's not going to require much work on your part once you find out where it is. To find the mature body animation, there are various different ways, but we're just going to go into our animator, as seen before, and we're going to go to body edits. And in body edits, you'll see this yellow box, mature body September 19. And inside this box, it's going to have mature body September 19 as an animation. You want to click on this animation and you'll find it right there. Now hold on to this, keep in mind where it's located, and go back into your scene view. Now that we're in our scene view, we're going to create a duplicate of our model and we're going to drag it to the side. This is very important. Creating a duplicate for your model whenever you're playing around with animations is very important because it can mess up your main model. So just keep that in mind. Always create a duplicate whenever you're working on animations. With that being said, we're going to take the mature body animation, which is right here, and we're going to drag this onto the duplicate model we created. And while we're at it, we're going to rename this model to animation test. And now you'll see that when we go into play mode, the model will sort of shrink into the floor and you'll see that the proportions have changed. This is the proportions of whenever you max out the mature body slider in VRC for the model. Now let's back out of play mode and you'll see the model just goes straight back. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to the mature body animation once again, and we're going to go to animation right here. If you don't have this animation tab, you can create one really easily. And all you do is you right click right next to console or on the console, and you click add tab, add animation right here. And once you have this up, you can see sort of some drop downs here for various bone scales. These are very important because this is what changes the proportions of the animation and whatnot. So let's first, before we do anything with this, I'm going to hide this model really quick, and then we're going to click on the animation test. it's very important to click on the animation test and not the mature body animation, because you cannot add properties if you just have this selected. You need to have the animation test selected as well. And now you'll see that when we click on this, left butt cheek and right butt cheek, this is for changing the scale of your ass, if you wish. Currently, you'll see that the scales are 1. All the scales being 1 means that it's at its default size. Now, when we change the first keyframe in the animation, we drag this slider over to the first one, you will see that the values went up on the scale. Don't pay attention to the scene too much. You may have seen the avatar translate over a little bit. Don't worry about that too much. What we're looking at here is the left butt cheek and the right butt cheek scale, and we're gonna position our camera so we can see what we're doing while we're playing around with this. For me, what I like to do with what I found to be some common good values would be I'm going to set the x values to 1.5 and the z value to 0, or not 0, but 1, and I'm going to change the y value to 1.5. So x 1.5, y 1.5, and z 1. And we're going to do that for the right butt cheek just the same. Boom, there we go. So now you might see that there's a little bit of a change. It's not very visible until you see it in game, but we can showcase it. I will showcase it. Next, what we'll look at is the thigh, the left thigh and the right thigh. That's what these are here. Now, we can change these values as well and scale them up. Everything in here is scalable to whatever size you wish. Just keep in mind, if you go beyond certain values, you will start to experience clipping, or things just might not look right. For me, I'm going to change the thigh X scale to be 1.5 as well, and the Z scale to 1.5. I'm not going to play around with the Y scale, because if you play around with the Y scale, you might see some weird things for the thigh. So for the thigh, don't worry about the Y scale. Just don't. And we're going to do the exact same thing for the right thigh. And then now we're on to the boobs, which is what a lot of people have sort of struggled with. So hopefully I can explain. Now you'll see with the boobs is that they have a rotation and a scale. The rotation is important because sometimes when you increase the scale too much, the tits will kind of phase into each other. So if that happens, you'll want to rotate them a little bit. So for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my X value to 4. I'm going to change my Y value to 1.25. And I'm going to change the Z value to 4 as well. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for the right boob. Keep in mind, you have 2 bones in this case. Me personally, I haven't played around with the second one, but you will notice very similar results if you say edit the second bone rather than the first bone. If you have the same values for both the first bone and the second bone, you will notice it's essentially double. So just be mindful of which ones you're scaling up in this case. So I'm gonna make my right tit same size as the other one, just so we don't have misshapen tits for some reason. And then I'm going to basically close all these drop downs, and you'll see now that since I've selected basically a bone. It's kind of gotten rid of all that yellow stuff, but it lets us see the changes that we've done to the model a little bit easier. So you see tits have grown a bit, and the same with the thighs and whatnot, and same with the ass. It's just a little bit hard to see. So that is how you modify the proportions. I'm going to upload this on VRC, and I will showcase it for you guys in just a second. So we'll cut right to that. All right, so now we're in VR. Switching to the model, we should have the clothing set by default, and the mature body slider should be a little bit more than what it is normally. So with that being said, we're going to switch over and we're going to see how it looks. All right, gotta lock in with full body. All right, so our clothes are now default. So as you can see, it's not the default one that is originally one. This is the presets that we set through the animator. And now, if we go to our expressions, we go to body changes, we go to mature body, you'll notice that the size is definitely larger than how Blubl had it originally set. So just keep that in mind. If you want to change anything for the proportions, just play around with those scale values up and down to whatever you feel you wish. One thing that I forgot to mention while in Unity, make sure you don't upload the animation test. You want to upload the model that we had disabled, and I'll show reference image of that one right now. Make sure you re-enable that object and then upload that model. If you guys run into any problems with the model other than this, and if you have any questions and whatnot, further questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or feel free to ask us in Blubl's Discord. I'll leave a link to that one in the description of the video. And with that being said, hope you guys all have a great night. I hope you guys enjoy the model. Bye-bye.